Hey guys, TheSneakySnake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and today's video we're going to take a look at a game that I had in the key, the Tier 8 Premium Japanese battleship. I'm divvied up with my buddy Storo, and he's playing in the Akazuki, the Tier 8 Japanese destroyer, and we're playing some domination here on the map Northern Lights. So it's been a little over 2 weeks since I've uploaded a video. Just some stuff hit me in life really. Besides school, obviously keeping me busy, and the prior King of the Seas tournament that just ended, obviously that took up a lot of my free time doing homework and practicing and playing in COTS, but then also some tragedy struck my family. My grandmother passed away last Monday, so just been dealing with her, now deceased, and making arrangements for her ceremonies, or her service, I should say. You know, it's just been a rough couple of weeks, to be quite honest with you guys. Really busy, and then having that happen was unfortunate. So that's why I've been away, but now I'm feeling better. I started playing the game a little bit more after taking a pretty decent break from it, and I have a couple of replays this week to show you guys. So this first game that we're going to check out here in the key, this is a ship that I actually got from the Santa containers this past Christmas time. I think Spider gifted me, because Puddin', Spider, and we gift each other about 10 boxes each Christmas. I think it was in one of the ones that Spider gifted me, I got the key. Now, this ship has undergone some changes since it was released, most notably in its torpedo armament, but I'm going to go over the skinny on this premium Japanese battleship here really quickly. It's kind of similar to an Amagi, but there are a few chief differences between those two battleships. The most important thing is that it does not have that pronounced torpedo belt that allows Amagis to not really take too many citadels on a broadside, and also have those penetrating, non-damaging hits if they do penetrate at the right angle. Unfortunately, you can see the key's broadside. It's very flat, it's very large, and the citadel does stick above the waterline. So this thing kind of goes back to the old days of World of Warships, where if you give a broadside, you're going to be eating a lot of citadels, and especially at mid to close range, the key can get full health deleted. It's not common, but this thing will eat multiple citadels if you don't angle properly. You still have the same really good 410mm guns. The reload is the standard 30 seconds. You know, you get 5 of them with 2 apiece, so 10 guns. These are pretty good. Range of 19.4 kilometers is a little on the low side for Tier 8, but you do have the spot plane that you can see that I have equipped, so obviously take advantage of that whenever you can. The torpedoes, you get 3 per side, 10 kilometers. They're 62 knots, I believe, as well. So these torpedoes are pretty good. I know they're 10 kilometers for sure. So while obviously you can't stealth torp with this thing, it does give you some interesting options in close range fights, assuming that you can hide the citadel. They are actually pretty tricky to use when you are dealing at point blank range, and something like a Tirpitz is still going to be able to give you a lot more trouble. Just because it has the armor to be able to go with those close range torpedoes that it has. The maneuverability on the ship is pretty good. You can get up to about 30 knots, a little bit over, which is pretty standard for the higher tier Japanese battleships. This thing is, after all, more of a battle cruiser, so it does sacrifice some armor for speed. And then with a full concealment build, 14 kilometers of stealth, which is pretty pitiful, to be honest. It's on the very high end for Tier 8 battleships, so there's really nothing that I can think of off the top of my head that you are going to be outspotting, assuming, of course, the guys that are in the battleships opposite of you are also using concealment and camouflage. So with the skinny of the ship out of the way, the gameplay right now, I actually haven't fired my guns in anger yet. I'm waiting to see if I can get a shot here on this Charles Martel, and before he commits fully to his turn, I'm going to risk it and send the shells downrange. Now, when I did grind through the Amagi a long time ago, a lot of people felt that that ship and the Nagato preceding it were extremely accurate battleships. I didn't necessarily feel that way, and the key is pretty similar. It definitely reminds me of the Amagi dispersion, where sometimes you're just going to see a couple salvos here that's going to leave you scratching your head because it's just not really that good. But there's also certainly going to be some good broadsides hit in this gameplay as well. You can see that my buddy Storo is going on to the A-cap with the Jervis, so I'm going to shoot here at the enemy Gnevny. Obviously, whenever you can shoot your BB guns at destroyers, go for it, and somehow 1 penetration equals 2,500 points of damage. I'm not 100% sure. I still firmly believe that that shell marker, the shell counter on the right side, is bugged, because 1 overpen is most definitely not 2520, but whatever. I decided to slow down, trying to get a shot there at the enemy Cleveland, but unfortunately he did go undetected. So now I'm going to take use of the spot plane and take a peek over the island and try to shoot some shells downrange at the Nelson. We all know that the Nelson has rather poor armor for a tier 7 battleship, and when it is up tiered, it can get overmatched by 16-inch guns and higher. Unfortunately, I get great dispersion, but I aim just a little bit too high. I had a trio of over penetrations on the superstructure of that tier 7 premium British battleship, so unfortunately I was not able to punish him more. But this was only my second game in the key during my playthrough. I think I played 3 games in this the other day, so I was still kind of getting used to the muzzle velocity and all that again, and just where to aim. My next shot, going downrange at the Charles Martel. I'm going to actually get more good dispersion here. As you can see, the shells are going downrange. Unfortunately, I also aim just a little bit too high, and most of the over penetrations are up into the superstructure. So 2 good salvos on target, aimed just a little bit too high. When I am using my spot plane, and I do, I guess, have a crappier shot, most of the time I aim a little bit too high. That's just a little idiosyncrasy with my gameplay. When I'm using the spot plane, I tend to shoot just a tad too high. The next salvo is going downrange at the Lyon at 15.7 kilometers, so this is pretty good range for a key to do some work, and my aim is corrected. And while I aimed still a tiny bit too high with the 3 over penetrations, 3 pens, over 12,800 damage on that guy, so he is definitely hurting, and I got my first really good salvo of the day. Now that Gnevny is shooting in open water at 1,600 hit points. Just a little note to you guys, I would definitely not be doing that unless the game was about to be lost, so a bit of a bold move right there, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get a snapshot off on the guy. So now I'm going to turn my focus back to the Lyon once again, and the next salvo is going to go downrange. Now, unfortunately, Storo ate some torps not too long ago, and he died, so with the Jervis all the way to the north, I'm now a little tentative to go around the corner, or I guess timid would be the better word. Obviously, the Gnevny was running away, and he is shooting at me. Mahan Torps actually took him out. There's also the Cleveland and another enemy destroyer that were last spotted in the sea cap. So at this point, I decide, well, if I'm going to make this turn, let's do it now. I don't want to be giving my broadside to that enemy Lyon, because I know that he is still reloading. You can see that the Cleveland does get detected there for a brief second, but obviously I can't keep track of everything. The next salvo, about 10,000 points of damage, pretty good shot. I'm able to angle just in time for the Lyon's return fire, and I do get a couple bounces and I think 1 overpen on me, so I'm still doing okay. The Jervis is having a good old time up there, almost killing off that Gnevny, who's now down to 795 hit points. But now I'm going to wait for my Edinburgh and the Duke of York to come in and get a little bit closer to support before I decide to make my next move. Now, very unlikely, or I guess I wasn't expecting it, the Edinburgh decided to lay some smoke for me, so that's not really how you're supposed to do it, but I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm going to stay behind the smoke screen as long as I can and get the jump on the Lyon, but unfortunately, as you can see, the 14-kilometer concealment is definitely not helping out. Excuse me. So hopefully I can kill this guy before he's able to get all of his guns at me. He does get his rear turret off. Will I manage to get the kill? Unfortunately, no. 10,900 damage. So now I'm just going to speed up and pray to Jesus that he does not get any citadels on me. And actually, I think somehow my speeding up managed to throw his aim off. A couple shells have hit near the stern of my ship, but really no big damage, so to speak. So I definitely got lucky. And then the Colorado manages to overmatch his nose, which is great. So now at this point, instead of turning my guns to the left, I'm going to decide, well, I'm going to try to deal with the Cleveland too, so I'm going to keep my guns on the right side of my ship, and instead of waiting for them to do a 180, I'm going to turn to the left, engage the Martel, and then do a 180, and go and engage the Cleveland. So that's why I'm keeping my guns situated on the right side of my ship. If I would have tried to bring them back to the port side, it would have just taken so much time that I don't really want to deal with at this point. So the forward guns shoot before the rear guns, and I manage to get a citadel, and I pick up the first frag for me on that tier 8 French heavy cruiser. And now I'm going to keep my guns, like I said, on the starboard side, and I'm just going to make this 180-degree turn to try and deal with the Cleveland. Sometimes it's okay to, I guess, bring your guns about to the other side, but I was planning out my maneuvering right there, so that's why I mentioned it. Since I was going to do the 180, there was no point for me to wait, because doing a 180, my rear turrets would not have been able to turn around in time. These aren't Soviet battleships after all. Come on, Wargaming, get rid of that 30-second turret traverse crap. That's stupid. So that's why I decided to do the maneuver that I did. So now I'm going to be able to bring all of my firepower to bear on this Cleveland, and we'll see if I'm going to be able to get the frag on this guy. Unfortunately, half of my team has died, but also about half of the enemy team has died. Well, there's been a lot of frags going on here in the first 10 minutes of this game, as I have a very poor salvo on the Cleveland. Yeah, that was very bad. The Gnevine's on 6 hit points, so at this point, I was like, come on, guys, you can get the kill. He needs to die. Like, you can't get away here. So I'm lining up the kill shot here on this Cleveland. Hopefully, I'll be able to get the frag. You can see that the enemy team has a few ships over towards the D objective point. There's an Abruzzi last detected. There's an Alabama over there, and there's an Nagato that are trying to deal with the friendly Helena as well. So as our team does take the lead with that Cleveland getting killed off by the Colorado, unfortunately, he is burning down, so I think he's going to kick the bucket here because he used his repair at the most inopportune time. No, the Mahan was floating him. Okay, so the Mahan is over there. Okay, so now at this point, the Jervis is on 624 hit points, and he's making a bold move. Obviously, that Mahan was last detected right there, and you can see that I get detected as well. So thinking that maybe the Mahan's behind me, that's why I decided to drop the torpedoes off my stern, but you can see that the Mahan does appear on full health, so those torpedoes aren't going to hit anything. But with the new firing penalty, even though the Mahan shot and then went undetected, I come around the corner. He still has that 20-second debuff to worry about, which is also a dumb thing. I get my salvo of AP out, and oh my gosh, is this pre-patch 0. whatever it was, 0.7 point something? 6 overpens somehow equates to 13,000 points of damage on that Mahan. I'm not sure if that was working as intended because that poor guy just got completely screwed over, but I got some good RNG right there. Now this next shot coming up is actually pretty handy, and this is another situation where the scout plane actually is able to hook you up with this, with anything that you use it really. You can see that the Mahan is detected once again because he decided to shoot at me. So since I'm detected and he is opening fire, I'm going to look and peek above the island and snap a shot off right here. Hopefully I'm going to be able to get the kill on this guy on his last salvo. And oh yeah, baby, I actually aimed quite a bit too high because again, that's my tendency, but one shell had such terrible dispersion that I managed to kill off that Mahan. So the scout plane does come in handy, especially when you're trying to peek over islands. It's not just for the long-range combat. I have long had the scout plane on, being able to peek over islands and get those juicy shots in on people that aren't expecting it, and I was certainly able to do that on the Mahan. Again, RNG definitely hooked me up there, but now I'm going to make the enemy team pay for it because sometimes fortune favors the bold, and I was at least able to get a decent salvo downrange above the island in his general direction. So, hey, yeah, whatever. So, I'm going to move on to the sea cap here. Obviously, there's only 3 of us left, and there's only 3 enemy ships left. There's the Duke of York and the Edinburgh, so I want these guys to stay with me. One of the most crucial things when you're in a domination game and you're getting to the late stage, you need to stay together with your teammates. So you saw that I was in chat, and I was typing, hey guys, stick with me. We're going to get sea capped. We're still losing by... if my math is correct, about 80 points, but that's okay because we're going to get C, the enemy team is going to get D, and now we're going to be even on the capture points. There's still plenty of time left, about 7 minutes, so hopefully we can all run into some enemy ships as a group of 3, and we'll have a much easier time being able to take care of those enemies that are left. I wasn't honestly sure how much hit points those guys had, so I was just hoping that the guys that died over at D earlier on in the game were able to get some good HP trades on them, so maybe make it a little bit easier. But having 61,000 hit points to work with here at the end of the game is going to prove invaluable. Unfortunately, the Alabama does get detected, and he is on 51,000 hit points, but fortunately my friends were able to get onto the cap, so we are going to secure it before these shells do impact me. And you're going to see a pretty good masterclass here with the key coming up with the angling. You saw right there, maybe I was over angled just a tad too much, but a lot of those shells were shot at the waterline and they hit my belt armor, and I only ate 1 over penetration with a couple of shells that did outright bounce off of my belt. So, like I said, the key has a citadel, but if you can angle it properly, you can still tank pretty well in this battleship. And obviously, since I have torpedoes, I am a pretty big threat. So that Alabama does not want to close the distance to me, and I don't blame him whatsoever. Unfortunately, however, when he is broadside, I do get a bad bit of dispersion right there, and I only managed to do about 9,000 damage on the guy. as I angle in a little bit. But yeah, he's making the smart play. He does not want to deal with me in a close range fight. That would be a very bad fight for him to take. So he's going to run away, and now I'm getting spammed to death by the Abruzzi. But the Abruzzi makes a mistake, and for some reason, I'm not sure how he managed to get himself into that position, but he's screwed. He's going to die. He's on 12,000 hit points. Even though he's going to angle, I'm obviously going to be able to get some shells to go right into his citadel. And also my friends behind me are shooting. So, yeah, he's dead. And now with that guy taken care of, our team has the lead and the ship lead. And now this Nagato is only on 13,000 hit points. And the Nagato is also notorious for being a rather squishy battleship. And the guy, to top it all off, only has the stock hull. So he only has 49,000 hit points, which really does suck. So at this juncture of the game, I'm going to use my 2 forward guns to try and get the kill on this guy. I really want the Edinburgh to start opening up. However, I do get really good dispersion on those 2 turrets, and I manage with 2 penetrations for 8,300 points of damage, so some very nice stuff right there. And now I'm going to keep charging around the corner to deal with the Alabama. Once this Nagato does eventually get taken care of, I do eat a torpedo from the Abruzzi, but that's okay. I have so many hit points to work with, it's not really that big of a deal. And maybe I'll be able to get the frag here with this next shots coming in from the forward guns. We'll see about that. The Edinburgh is also opening up on him as well, which is really good to see. I do get 1 penetration there, so okay. He's down to 2,900. Yeah, this is a situation where it's like, come on, guns, just get the kill, get the pen that I need, and you know, we're on the cusp of victory here. So I'm going to swing my rear turrets into place, so there we go. Now that they've finally come back around. The dispersion looks kind of rank, but I do get 1 shell to penetrate the bow of that Nagato. So I pick up my 4th frag of the game, and now I decide to use my spot plane so that when it does get up to altitude, it will be able to peek over the island and give me a visual on this Alabama, and there we go. He's still kind of waiting for me, I guess, to come around the corner. But again, an Alabama, this is not a fight that you are going to want to take. And now you can see that my Edinburgh and my Duke of York buddies, they're actually about facing, and they're going to go get an angle so that when I push around the corner and he keeps pushing to the west, they're going to run, or he's going to run into their fire as well. So I do have to be a little bit careful coming around the corner. So I already want to have the rudder about halfway to the left as I am coming around. So you can see that I'm already turning before he's even able to get a shot at me. So when I do come around the corner, I am going to be angled very nicely. And oh boy, that was a really piss poor salvo from the Alabama, all things considered. But now I'm in a really good situation. I'm able to chase him down. He's well within my torpedo range, and the Key also has excellent forward firing arcs if you haven't already seen that or noticed that during this gameplay. So even though he's angled well, that's okay. And even though he has a little bit more hit points, that is a-okay. I'm fine. I can just keep chasing this guy down because I'm also going to be a little bit faster than the Alabama as well. And again, notice where he's shooting. I know it does take an idiot to take advantage of your armor in close quarters combat because he's not shooting up into the superstructure, but you can see here that this ship is able to bounce some. I did eat 7,800 points of damage right there, but a couple of those shells still hit the belt armor, which is a-okay. Couple more penetrations. I did pick up the Confederate 2 salvos ago, so that's great. You can see that my Edinburgh buddy is now getting into a good position, and once again, another salvo from his rear turret, completely blanked. I'm at about a 25 or so degree angle, so there's really no way for his shells to penetrate unless he aims up into the superstructure, and for some reason, he's just really not doing that, and it's critical at these close range engagements that you know exactly where you need to shoot. Once again, I do that. 3 pens, somehow only 5,100 points of damage, but I do pick up the high caliber. His superstructure really wasn't that saturated, so I'm very, very surprised that I did not manage to get more damage out of that. But again, it's all over but the crying. He's not going to be able to live. I get my next heal ready to go, so this might be a little bit anticlimactic ending to the game, but basically he's just going to get peppered to death until he does kick the bucket. 5 over pens. The dispersion kind of threw a lot of that salvo up into the superstructure, but that's okay. My secondaries are now in range as well, and any minute now I'm actually going to realize, oh yeah, I have torpedoes, and I'm actually going to do a narrow sheaf launch, which is a shot at a target that's moving away at about a 45 degree angle. So there we go. I'm going to put those torpedoes a little bit in front because I'm assuming that eventually he's going to turn to the left and he's going to have to speed up to try and make that turn. Actually, a kind of poor salvo right there as I aimed a little bit too low and a little bit too far to the right. But obviously he didn't want to turn to the right and deal with the Edinburgh, and he's still staying pretty angled to me. But eventually he's going to have to turn a little bit too much to the left because he doesn't want to beach on the island, which is great. So I'm going to open up just enough to get all of my guns here. The key can open up all of its broadside like that, and you saw a couple overpens, a couple shells did bounce. Hopefully my torpedoes will be able to catch up to the Alabama and get my 5th kill of the game, and that's exactly what happens as we end the match here on North. Alrighty guys, taking a look at the post-battle results, 708,000 credits received and 6,600 total experience earned. I picked up Confederate, Dreadnought, Kraken Unleashed, and High Caliber, dealing 153,000 points of damage off of 79 shell hits and 1 torpedo. I sank 5 enemy ships, had 2 citadels, 1 solo base cap, and 39 secondary hits. Taking a look at the team score, 2567 base XP, easily tops on the team, and that is a very healthy number to have as top tier at tier 8. So obviously a very steady and good performance in the key. Taking a look at the detailed report, 144,000 damage dealt with the armor piercing, 5,000 with the torpedoes. Obviously, I would have had more if he had more hit points to give. And then 4,000 with the secondaries and 2.1 million potential. Anytime you get over 2 million potential in a battleship, you were definitely tanking quite a bit. So, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this replay. It was certainly a pretty good one. And with that being said, this is the Sneaky Snake for BIA World of Warships signing off. Guys and gals, as always, have a great day.